I don't care if it's balanced. I don't care if it's good for the game. I mean, I want it to be good for the game.
And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Kaiju Power Hour. I'm your host, Wadel, joined alongside Lemur. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm
Huh?
doing well. I'm doing well.
Thank you.
Excited for this episode of the Abyssal Power Hour.
Awesome. Well, we are recording this on 10/25/2024 at 6 p.m. CST. We are unfortunately not joined by Fernie today. She will be taking a little break from the Kaiju Power Hour, maybe a permanent break. No clue. Could still be working behind the scenes. May come back. Life will unfold. Fernie is she's doing fantastic. Just wanted to take a little step away. So fine for now. You know, respect decisions. Love Fernie. Couldn't be here without her, so wish her the best. Otherwise, we have a guest today. We have the guest today, Mr. Senior Game Designer Joshua Morrison. How you doing?
I'm all right. It's pretty good. Doing good today.
Yeah, we can let him say good. Sorry, Lemur. Yeah, he can say good. You're not allowed to. Never ever since
Not
that
allowed
day.
to say good.
No, Lemur's not allowed to say
Apparently
good because
not.
not grammatically
Apparently not.
correct. So, you know.
I'm doing well. Is that
Oh,
what I'm
there we go. That's what it's supposed to be. You're doing well. I always like to tell people I'm doing fantastic because I think it just works in the sentence, you know. I want to make sure people know that I'm ecstatic for the day. I'm a breathing creature of the air. All right.
What a day.
What a day. What a day. All right. So, we got you JMO on here today. You want to just give us a little bit of JMO lore, just a little tiny bit, you know, like give us a little rundown of JMO.
A little JMO lore. I guess I originally got into the industry as an artist. I worked at Jaeger on Dreadnought and at Bungie on Destiny 2, a ton of the DLCs, and then I worked a little bit on Marathon before I came here. I'm now a designer, and I bring, I don't know, everyone's favorite heroes to life, you know, the ones they love, the ones they hate. So, worked on the map.
Hold on.
Did I lose audio?
Yeah, I lost
JMO?
it.
Wait,
you worked on the map and
It worked
I
on the
don't know,
map.
a little bit of everything. Am I good? You can hear me?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can
you're
hear you
good,
now.
you're
We can hear you now. We
and
can
a
hear
little
you
bit of
now.
everything.
Yeah, worked on
Okay.
heroes, the map, worked on some powers, minions. Yeah,
Oh,
some
all right.
VFX.
Oh, nice.
Chonker.
Chonker.
The art for Chonker.
Okay, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you know, we just came off the Steam Next Fest. You know, how is everyone doing? It was a long week. Okay, first ever 24/7, every server up running for a week. So you know how we feeling? Relaxed, excited? Was it insane, crazy, hectic?
I think originally when I heard about the Steam Next Fest thing, I thought it was gonna be like 12 hours of NA and 12 hours of EU. And then when it turned out to be like 24 hours of NA the entire time, I was like, oh my lord. I may have stayed up way too many hours playing the game.
I think I saw your hours at one point. You played a
I played
lot.
I played a total of 133 hours, I think.
That's wild. Yeah, I did not play that much, but it was not good for my work schedule because I would like work and then I played with you one night and like, yeah, I was shocked at how quick the servers were even late at night, and it's a pretty addicting game, I think. I had some fun.
Yep.
Definitely say addicting game. I'm pretty sure Aiden BY had over 1,000 games of SUPERVIVE played
There's
in
no
your
way.
guys'
There's
week.
no way.
No, somebody had 1,000 games, and I'm pretty sure it was Aiden BY had 1,000 games played.
How many hours is that?
There's
I
no
know.
way it's 1,000. There's
No,
way.
I'm almost like I don't know.
I'm
Somebody
gonna
said
get
it
a
was
calculator out. Come on, what are we...
an average game like 10 minutes a piece. I wouldn't believe it was 1,000, but I mean, like that's kind of crazy if you think about it in perspective. Because I had to work Monday through Thursday, but I still grinded the game out. I was still playing a lot. I think I ended with 90 hours, so still some chump work. You know, I could have been up there in the hundreds. It was doable, but you know, some part of me was like, what am I really doing at some point when I'm playing the game? You know, like I got to take a little break. Although I took my little break here and there.
My favorite clips were the ones like I know Jing had submitted one where all of a sudden he's been up for 20 hours and he's just shooting the Volt with his flamethrower as Felix and just like he's just like lost it. He just doesn't know where he is anymore. And honestly, there was moments like that where I was just like losing, and I was like, "Wait, where were we going? Like, what is happening?"
No, definitely. I'd say like you get like the sleepy vibes, and you're just like, oh, sorry, I'm back in. So I actually we're gonna lead into some of we got like favorite moments, everyone's favorite moments. We'll lead into it in here in a second. But I wanted to say this is actually an Aiden BY story that I heard. So apparently this guy was when he was going on his like really long streak, like I mean like when he went on like a very long play streak. I don't know what happened, but I got told that he fell asleep mid game, like, and his team got second, so he almost got a first place falling asleep. And I was like, some people, hey, it's a fun game, it's addicting. You got to go for them wins. So he was up there trying. He fell asleep mid game doing that. It
Oh,
was crazy,
God.
crazy to feel. But
That is wild.
your guys' moments, like, what was some of your favorite exciting moments all around? If you
Should I go
got,
first?
if you
Yeah,
want to,
go
go
for it.
ahead.
Yeah.
Uh, well, I got to play with Jin's voice actor, and that was pretty cool.
Ooh.
We got a few dubs, but it was really fun just to play with him and hear him like I think he was so excited about the game and like yeah, just talking to him and playing Jin and he was streaming. That was a lot of fun. And I think maybe my runner up or one of my other memories is I got to play some duos and it was me and James Somnia. We were running we were just doing random. We just slam random every time and see what characters we got and try and win. And I think we won a few actually, but it was a lot of fun just to like he was saying how like if you play as much as we were playing, you get like you kind of like get in that I don't know, like you start to space out and so playing random keeps you on your toes and I really felt like it made sense to me and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. I was gonna say there's like so many I could share because 24/7 you're gonna start having these stories where you could just have so many to share. But I'm gonna hone down on one of them. So during our very last day of scrims, we were like, okay, let's just test out something different. I mainly play Shiv, okay, like and Shiv felt really good this time around. But I was like, I want to try out Hudson, So I'm like, let's just pull out a Hudson comp. Steve, slam the oath again. Let's go Hudson. We were down in like the desert area, and like there's the long corridor between the res beacon and this like long corridor, and there's all these teams around there, right? And we're in this corridor. We decided to move up north and go look what's going on there. And I had the most wanted on me. There's like 3 teams fighting in this small corner, just like all fighting each other with a void alt around and everything. And I just remember I just like pulled out the minigun and I was just like going like this into the corner with my minigun. No one behind me, bear in mind. Nobody's like pressuring me. So I'm just sitting there holding RMB, LMB, staring down a corner. And I remember like after we won that game, I just like stood up and I said, "You guys saw me during that game, right?" And went, "Brrr," and it was so it was just a funny moment. I guess it was just like a memorable moment because that was also my very first ever Hudson game too. I've like never played that kit before. I didn't know what I was doing. I literally like just slammed him. I'm saying we're just trying this. Like we're just going for it. And it was too much fun. Too much fun.
That's awesome.
Oh,
Yeah, switching heroes is like I don't know,
Yeah,
really gratifying, I think. And you
it
do
is.
it more when you have this much time to play, right?
Right.
Like
Exactly.
Yeah, you have
yeah.
so much more time to like try things out, test things out, and see like, cause like when you're limited, you want to play like what you have. You want to be like on that. But yeah, it was really fun. What do you got, Lemur?
I think my favorite moment was like, so I would stream the game like 16 hours a day, and then like I'd get off the stream, and then I'd realize like I just want to keep playing. And then I just log on Arena and just play Arena by myself for 2 hours, and I just like couldn't stop. And I feel like just like those moments like after where I'm just like listening to music, just playing the game by myself was like I don't know. I just felt like enlightened. I was like, huh. So this game really is just like this much fun. I just want to keep playing it.
Oh
And
yeah, I
that was
saw.
actually my favorite moments. Like I had a ton of like crazy most voids and whatnots, but just like the moment where I was like, I just want to keep playing and playing all these different characters and having fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I remember I told Lemur in a call, but I'll share this as well. I was on Monday, the Monday after like the weekend. I had to go back to work. I was at work during the day serving, And at one point, I'm like, so I'm a server, so I'm like taking somebody's order. I literally blank out and start literally remembering an exact team fight in SUPERVIVE where we lost. And I'm like trying to think, how do we win this? And then I snap back in so fast. I said, oh, I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that order one more time for me? And I was just like, that was my bad. Did not mean to snap out of it. Like, that was just like, never happens. I'm like, and that I was like, in that moment, I'm like, that's crazy. Like, I don't even think League ever did that to me. Like, that's just insane to think, like, my brain wants to just go right to it right away. So I resonate with you there. I also saw your tweet when you said, guys, go queue up Arena. I'm in here. No, but it was an exciting, long week. And I mean, the closer we get to beta, it's the longer it's going to be. You know, the longer this is going to be the train ride, go through it. Super exciting stuff, but we're going to dive into some real questions here with you today, JMO. We're going to get to know a little bit about you, a little bit about the development cycle, and, you know, maybe some fun questions in there too. All right. So I'm just going to.
Yeah, it's some leaks, right?
Yeah.
Leaks.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
You promised us leaks, right?
Yeah,
Did I?
you told me specifically that you were gonna leak some great things coming up.
Okay,
So,
okay. All right.
so
I'll
I'm gonna hit you.
think on that one.
I'm gonna hit you with the first one, right? So, coming from what I mostly found, FPS games, like what you like, what you've designed, what you've worked on. How does the top-down MOBA style feel in developing this game? On top of that, how does like the role kind of transition from you were? I remember asking you. You're mostly an artist to now officially designer. So like, how
Right.
does that all come together and correlate? How does it feel?
Yeah. I think I'll start with the first one, which is like going from first person to top down. I think it's like actually kind of challenging in some ways, but I think it's exciting because I'm like, we are a shooter, we are an action game like through and through. Like that's like we're trying to push that much harder than I think the other MOBAs have, and so we want everything to be a skill shot. We want it to feel physical when you're dashing around, and I think we are paying those things off, but some of the cost of being top down is like everything's a bit easier, right? Like it's we don't have headshots really, and that's been like challenging for us. So there are some costs I think that come with it, but the thing that is, I guess when I said it's exciting is like you can develop things much faster in some ways. Like fidelity, right? Like or animations and stuff kind of isn't it doesn't have to be quite as high, I think, as it would have to be in a first person game. And so we're able to build content a lot faster and with a smaller team, and I think that's been some of our like secret sauce. And yeah, it was one of the things I was excited about when I joined the team. Like, I don't know, I think we'll talk about Glider later, but the first implementation of Glider is probably like an hour of work from me or something like that, and it's like I can't imagine the amount of work you have to do in a 3D third person or first person game to kind of sell that, and I was able to sell most of it pretty quickly. um and what was the second half of your question?
It's
It was
you
like switching
mostly
from
like so officially you were an artist. Obviously, you probably done
right.
design work on different projects in here, but now you're officially a designer. So you work more on design work, I assume, for the most part, than you do on
Yeah.
actual artwork. So how does that kind of feel as just personally?
Yeah, I mean, I think I always wanted to do design. I did a lot of, I guess, art in high school and college, and so I was like, I wanted to work on games. I wanted to be a designer, but I thought, oh, it'll be easier to like focus on art and get a career doing that. It seems in some ways, it's much more stable to be an artist in the games industry because a lot of people want to do design, but not everyone can. And I was like, I don't know how successful I would be at it. Um, so I approached it from that way, got in as an artist, and then would always on the side kind of do my own indie projects and like do design work there. And then eventually at Bungie, I did some design work. Now that I'm fully a designer, I love it. Like it's kind of everything I wanted it to be. I feel like it's for me, design is kind of like art where I want to be really creative. I want to push the envelope, which is it's kind of like the way I think about art is you're trying to like resonate with people. You're trying to like get an emotional reaction, and I carry that into design. I want my designs to like emotionally resonate with you. I want them to pay off like a fantasy essentially, and I think that's how I approached art, but I feel like I can have a bigger impact, I guess, as a designer. And it's I guess I've always cared a lot about the design in games, and being able to focus on that is really rewarding for me. I feel like I have the impact I kind of want to have or always wanted to have. So it's been really good for me.
Ah, great answer. I really like the translation of like you said, like art is like the look of things, and design it still is kind of the look of things, but it's also like how it feels. Like, you know, art has it invokes emotion in a different way, but you're
Right.
able to still translate that emotion into a different field of it, and you're, I assume, like you said, you're probably in a sense feels much greater, much more fun for you, I guess, right? Like, would you say it's like a lot more
Yeah.
fun?
I yeah, I think I like it because I guess I've always wanted to make games, not necessarily make
Yes.
art. Like I like making art and I like doing design, but my ultimate goal is like make a good game. And when you're just doing the art, you sometimes you feel like you're trying to convince designers like we should do this or we should do that. And they, they're in charge ultimately.
Mhm.
And so I like now that I mean, I'm on a smaller team too, so like everyone kind of can like help each other out and there's more mixing of disciplines. And so maybe too being in a smaller company is a lot better for me as well. But yeah.
Oh, nice. So you want to hit it up next, Lemur?
I mean, I do wanna talk about gliders because I think that was like a big pivot that Theorycraft made whenever they decided to implement the gliders into the game. So like, as far as I know, gliders were kind of a freaky week project that you introduced into the game, and a lot of the devs didn't like it, but all the players were like, "This is awesome." Um, like what inspired you to make gliders? Because I think it's like such an important part of the game now.
Yeah, I think it I want to say it almost can become romanticized, right? Like as we talk about Glider and its impact. But the
Yeah.
funny thing is, it essentially came from we were doing Freaky Week. I had written down, here's like 5 things I want to do. And I think it was at like the bottom of the list, or wasn't even on the list. And I realized during that Freaky Week, I wasn't going to, normally I do a whole hunter kit. And maybe I did Huntress's kit, but I had so much of it back then. She was a very different character back then. But maybe I had done a character, I don't really remember. I had essentially gone through my bullet list, and I think I met with Joe one day and we were having a one-on-one, and I was like, uh, I was like, every single day, Freaky Week, I'm doing something different. I don't know what the outcome's gonna be, but like just doing a different thing every day is really fun and seeing how far I can take something. And me and him were like, hey, we have all this abyss in the game, right? And the abyss is cool. It's dangerous. You jump dash across it and stuff like that. But me and him were like, and I don't remember who suggested it. It was probably him. But we were like, what if we had a glider like Breath of the Wild, essentially? And we were like laughing about it, and we're both like, is this stupid? Like, we're just like kind of joking. And I was like, it might be dumb, right? Like, we might both be dumb, but I still have 2 days left in Freaky Week. Maybe I'll do it. So I noted it in my doc of things I could do. And I think Thursday came around and I was like, man, I've done everything, but like, I think I had make a dome that people can't leave, like a cage, so you could like as a power, you couldn't let people
Yeah.
leave. That was on my list, and then glider. And I was like, well, glider sounds like more fun. And so I built it, like I said, like probably in an hour. It was literally freeze dash. I just copied freeze dash and like gave it to everyone with slightly different tunings. And then Rodrigo, our environment artist, I was like, hey, can you give me a glider mesh? Like I sent him a picture of a glider, like, or a concept that I was like, can you make something like this but different? And he gave me a mesh. Isaac gave me audio. And I was like, in like I don't know, an hour work from me and probably a few minutes from them, we had something and we put it in, and people really liked it. And I think the rest of my time went to like, how do I distribute this thing? Like at first it was like a consumable you found in the world, and it had energy, it would run out and you would lose it. And then yeah, we tried so many ways of like giving people glider, but it really came down to everyone was like, I want it all the time, right? And I think what that caused was there were a lot of devs internally who rightfully so were like, this ruins combat because you can just glide into combat, you can glide out of combat. And eventually I came to like, okay, well, if you take damage, you get stunned. And it did not spike you, but it stunned you out. And that helped like stop people from just escaping in the middle of fights. And I don't know if you guys played before the stunning part was added. I think you played with the stunning part. But yeah, we eventually put it in front of players and you guys loved it. Like it was scored super, super high. And then there was essentially internal discussions of like, okay, players like it, but it might not be healthy, right? It might not be healthy to just let people engage
Yeah.
or escape and do this. And so we essentially made a list of like, here's the 8 things or 12 reasons why, even though people love glider, we're not, we shouldn't keep it. Like one of the reasons was like the map is too small. There's not enough abyss. Like the map is not designed for glider in mind. And I looked at that list and then I looked at like how much players loved glider, and I was like, man, we can't. I was kind of frustrated. Right? I was like, I don't think we can give up on this, or I don't think we should give up on it because of anything in this list. And I essentially came to, okay, well, the first 8 are fixed by like spiking, which was one of the suggestions that had come up. And then I had like a bunch of other tunings, right? Like I would change how you got the stamina, or I would change, when you landed, or I had like a bunch of lists, and I showed it to Qualifier, and I don't remember. It was like one night we were talking about getting rid of it, and I was like frustrated with the thing I was working on, and Qualifier just goes like, and it's so funny. He's like, I hate glider. I just want us to be done with this, JMO. I want you to cut it, but you're not ready to cut it. So if you think spiking fixes 8 of these, just put spiking in so that we can be done with this mess. And so I went and put spiking in, and like the next morning, everyone just lost their mind. They're like, holy crap. That like I had several people message me, I don't like glider, but spiking is the greatest thing you've added. And so they're like, we have to keep glider to keep, or we have to keep glider to keep spiking. And so like it's a really weird roundabout way that we got there. And like I think a lot of people are like, as a designer, you should have this really clear like sense making, this is why X is cool and this is why. But really it just came from me and Joe laughing about, is this stupid or is this fun? Like we didn't know, and we're playing other games and we're like, this would be cool to try. And I love that it was like glider wasn't even necessarily the thing that the team loved. It was spiking. And I would have never, I don't know how I would have came to spiking. I don't know how we would ever came to slams, like dunks without it. And so I just like how you build on top of stuff, right? You just keep going up. And like plus oneing essentially the original design. So yeah, I guess that's the story of glider for the most part.
That's a great story.
That's actually
Yeah.
that's actually a really enjoyable story. I was gonna say one of the major things that like hooked me originally a long time ago on SUPERVIVE was the fact that the 1v in potential was always gonna be there. And I think when the gliders came around, I was like, oh, Hunter is now just gonna open up. Like there's a lot of things that open up with hunters
Right.
because you open up gliding and you open up the abyss play and you open up 1v in potential to possibly be there. So now like I think personally, I will always say that I think gliding is the like one of the few core mechanics of SUPERVIVE. Like it is just necessary. With and without it, you can't have it. Like
Yeah. I think you're right too, because I remember lots of internal design discussions about Aluna, where it was like, we want her to be a support, but she must be able to 1v in. But we don't want her to have that much damage. And it's like you're up against the wall. You're like, what can we
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
And then when spiking goes in, it's like, oh well, she's extremely capable over abyss, and her projectiles are quite fast. It's almost like serendipitously, she's just like, she had this spot that we didn't know how to solve, and then she's like magically solved it when you add spiking. And it makes her so fun to play. I like playing her now even more than I did before. So yeah, it definitely changed my design thinking or philosophies in some ways, where I used to, yeah, it just makes me think like you don't always need to know or solve every problem. If you think something is interesting enough, you can try it. And sometimes the problems it creates, the solutions are more interesting than even it. So it's
Yeah.
like, it makes me open to try things. I think a lot of designers learn very early on that you can't actually know. You just don't know. You can't predict whether something's going to be good or bad. You have to test it. And so it's great that we test with you guys, because that's like a super fast version of that, right? It's like the hyper version of that.
yeah.
But
Do
yeah.
you think that if you didn't do the playtest with glider, it would have got cut and like never been seen?
I don't know. I definitely was empowered by you guys' feedback. Like, if you guys didn't love it so much, I don't know if I would have fought quite as hard. So
Yeah.
yeah, community matters, right? Feedback matters. I think it inspires us, and I felt that for a lot of things. There's a lot of features where I'm not sure, or I'll put something in like abyss birds. I think Lemur, you said they were your favorite minion one time, and I
Yes,
remember
they
being in
are.
a
Still
meeting
are.
and being, yeah, I was
They
like,
are my honestly,
someone,
I loved them.
yeah. Someone asked me like, should we keep these? And I'm just like, well, they're Lemur's favorite minion. and I can list all these reasons why they're good, right? But like if players don't like something, why would I spend the bucks on it? Why would I spend energy and time on it? It's like
Mhm.
that's another thing I've heard someone say, like you have a bucket and you can only fit so much water in the bucket. But in some ways, I'm always like, you have so much time, you can't do everything, so you got to be really picky about what you put time to. So whenever you get positive player reactions, it's like, okay, well, we're in the right space, we should continue exploring this.
All right. Well, this is actually a good question to ask then. What piece of feedback, if any, do you think made a large impact on your development or your process in
Maybe
developing?
it was that one. I don't know.
That's right. Yeah, that's
Which,
why I'm curious.
which one, Lemur?
Oh,
Cool.
just what we were talking about glider. It's like the community sentiment around it.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the biggest impact one. I think like seeing the glider numbers definitely, like, yeah, again, I wouldn't have fought for it as hard. And so that has to be the correct answer. I'm trying to think if there's another answer. I mean,
Mhm.
I think there's another question you had about Brawl, and I think Brawl has gotten so much feedback over time, and it definitely influences like his design, right? And like yeah, I think there's like it even affects the roster as a whole, like in some ways whenever I think of all the feedback I've gotten on him and what it means for the roster all up, but he might be another one. It's hard for me to think of specific feedbacks though that have been that impactful.
We could take like maybe a deep dive on Brawl. I'm always down to talk about Brawl.
Oh
He's
Yeah.
man.
I love talking about I love talking about JMO hunters. It's actually interesting. All right.
Do the
um,
JMO hunters wait, I should ask you this do you think the JMO hunters do they feel different or do they feel at home in the roster? What do you think? Because I feel like
I
I'm
plead the
catching
fifth.
you off guard.
I can actually go ahead and say that. So when I see your hunters, okay, I'm always like, okay, I'm looking for three things. One, I'm looking, does this hunter break a base rule of the game? AKA
Okay.
myth going through walls, myth double
Uh-huh.
jump, brawl double jump, and then I think
Death boxing.
death boxing, yeah. And then like yeah, that's like realistically, I'm looking what rule does this hunter break? Because I think it's sick when some hunters break the rule of the game. Like, for example, like Kingpin breaks the rules of the game. He can hook through a wall, you know. I think Void's a little different. I don't think Void's necessarily breaking a rule of the game with the LMB through a wall. I think it kind of makes sense to like what he is. But some rules being broken, I looked at for that in a JMO kit, and I think it's like kind of it's kind of cool to look for those kinds of things in like certain hunters kits. I also noticed that you trend towards doing some of the same things across different hunters. So like Brawl and like Jin have sweet spots, you know. Myth
Mm.
has the double jump, Brawl has the double jump. Like I think there's some things I can see that's correlation here, but I don't know. That's usually what I look for,
Yeah, that's
typically.
interesting. All right, what is this deep dive on Brawl then? What do we want
Okay.
to know?
Well, I mean, Brawl's been around for a long time, formerly known as Ronin. He's gone through a lot of iterations. Some we must not speak of anymore. um, but one of the like mechanics that I kind of want to talk about for a while, I guess, is the death boxing mechanic. Because this
Mhm.
playtest, his death box is now on his ultimate, and it resets on a wisp, like as if you use it on a wisp. And um, I know it's been something that has been contentious over the many playtests that we've played. In this playtest, I was just running around and I'd walk up to a wisp and be like, face this, and just kill wisps over and over and over. And it just like kind of became a meme. Do you think that's something like that is like necessary in his kit and like as a melee hero to have this like death box mechanic?
Do you like doing that? I'm
I
curious. Is it
It's
fun?
fun
Not
to
this?
some extent.
Yeah, okay.
It's fun when I'm like denying an Aluna or something from the res, but it's like a little like over the top when I'm just stomping a guy to get on with my day.
Right, right. Yeah, when it's unnecessary.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it did originate from, or it felt like a necessity early on because I think there was a point where he could not win. He's gone up and down, but internally there was a point where he could not win a BR match to save his life. Like I think Tristan was even one of our highest internal MMR players, was playing him for like a few weeks and only managed one win, and it was like after I had made a bunch of tweaks, like and I was like, man, I just can't. I can't get people to play him internally. He's really struggling. And my hypothesis was, well, melee in a BR where everyone wants to sit back, they kind of, clump along the edge of the circle and no one wants to go in. And a melee character that goes in is going to get hit by all four teammates, and he's taking all this damage. He might get a knock. Best case scenario, gets a knock and he gets away, gets back to his team. But when he gets that knock, what happens? The three remaining players just stand on him and get the wisp back up, or Aluna, gets the wisp back up. And so his team must push. But a lot of times in a third party situation, his team isn't going to push. They don't want to, right? They're like,
Mhm.
why? It's just that knock isn't worth it, and they're like, we'll just wait until we can third party and we can do it from range. And so I just was like, that's where the death box came from. I was eventually like, he needs a way to just erase the wisp or to confirm his kill and say like, I got this kill and there's nothing anyone can do about it to take it away from me. And I think I was also looking at Sekiro a lot because like he has the grapple hook in Sekiro. I like how like you kind of work someone down and then you get the red dot and you just like execute them and it's like this finisher move. I think a lot of like God of War has that too. And since he's in that space, he kind of occupies that player fantasy. It made
Yeah.
sense to me to put it on his heavy attack and just say, yeah, if you land the heavy attack as the final blow, you just erase them. Um, it ended up on the ult because I think the R&B just doesn't have enough ceremony. The cooldown was quite short, which is funny enough that now it essentially doesn't have a cooldown on ult. But I think the ult had more. I liked it a lot on R&B, and it could be some balance tuning at some point where it could change, it could get removed, it could get moved back to R&B. I'm not sure. The things I like about it on ult are it is way more clearly communicated. Like enemies recognize, this is his big moment. We often
Right.
say internally, like, what is the character's bullshit? I'm pretty sure Ronin's ult is bullshit, and everyone like that's his power moment. And so it feels more fitting there in a way. The reset was actually a bug. I did not intend for him to be able to reset off wisps. I intended that if he killed someone and sent them to death box, but they were like not a wisp when he hit them, that he would get the reset. But if he
Mhm.
just did it on a wisp in an open field, I did not intend on him getting the reset. But that was a controversial opinion internally. Like some of the design team was like, just give it to him, just let him go, let him have this utility that no one else has. And I was like, no, no, I refuse. And then somehow I didn't, my logic was not perfect, and a bug went in, and you guys got to play that version. And so I played that version, in one of the play tests for a while, and it just wasn't as offensive as I thought it would be, I
Mhm.
guess. Like I was worried that it would be way too much. I'm still a little worried it's too much, but it hasn't warped him, I guess,
Right.
to a level
Right.
where I feel like I need to change it yet. But yeah.
Hmm.
That's
Cool.
straight to death box.
Straight
It's
to the
one of the
death
more,
box.
yeah, it was very, very controversial internally. Like people do not like going straight to death box. They hate it actually.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think that one of the things that it brings him to become is like if he's like good, then a Luna is like very bad. Which
Mm,
I mean, there's other interactions in the game like playing Jewel into Oath or something like that, but
right.
it's like very warping whenever he is strong. Uh,
Can you air blast him while he's ulting? Does that work?
uh, I don't know.
That's a good myth buster. That's a good myth
Yeah,
buster
I
question
don't
for a
think
myth
you
buster.
can. In my head, it probably does not work, but I'm curious if it does.
yeah,
That'd be an
that'd be cool.
interesting one.
Yeah.
That'd be a
Yeah.
very interesting one. Yeah,
Mythbusters.
I was gonna say one of my biggest gripes. I think it was during the test where it became a thing was always just like sitting there and being like, all right, what does Brawl have now? Why does he death box people? And I think I was like thinking about it. I was like, well, Bishop does, right? But Bishop's is like still skillful in a sense where you have to punch a wisp into a wall. And like
Right.
I though again, I'm not the designer, you're the designer, so you got to see it from every perspective and you ultimately have to make the decision. Like that's on you. Like that's not on me, that's on you, right? Like obviously. But I think it's very interesting how like you come to those decisions, and this is a question I did want to ask was like, you made gliders, you've made plenty of hunters now. You know, what goes behind making a hunter? Like what goes behind making or designing something in a game? Like you said Breath of the Wild like was an example of the gliders, right? Like Joe or you took that example
Right.
and put it in the game. What kind of what just kind of goes? Do you just throw abilities together? What are we taking references? Like, what do we?
Yeah, I think there's lots of ways to come at it. The way I generally come at it is I try to pay off a player fantasy. So like Stalker is a weird one, but Stalker has had a lot of iterations as well at this point, maybe even more than Brawl in some ways, or at least more desperate. They're all very different. Because
Mhm.
Stalker, I think, started out as like, I wanted to make. I think I literally was like, I want to make like Daryl Dixon from The Walking Dead. I wanted a tracker who like followed footsteps in the mud and had like a crossbow and it was such a like and then I was at some point I was like, oh, they could have a big hunting knife and they can go invisible. And then that just took over the character, right? Like once they could go invisible, it was like, oh, now they're a rogue. And I it's hard to like narrow down sometimes, right? Like that's pretty broad, right? Daryl Dixon to rogue to, at one point Stalker became Naruto type character and it's like I'm I am looking to pay off like I think that's like my favorite thing about SUPERVIVE is you get a chance to inhabit like almost like a hero, a superhero, like someone that you've always wanted to be and with that comes a certain level of power fantasy. And so I'm when I start a new hunter, I'm trying to find like what is the power fantasy that this pays off? And I think that's one of the core ways I do it. So I'll pick something that resonates with me or something that I think we're missing. And then it's maybe a bit different with powers. Sometimes I think the other way to do it is to look at like what does the game need or like what are we missing from a gameplay perspective. So there have been, I'm trying to think of an example of this, but one thing I'm always cognizant of is like teams deathballing. So like 3 or 4 people getting on top of each other and just aping at you, right? It's like, what do you do when 4 people clump up like that? It's really hard to repel that. And so knowing that's a problem, I'll try and build a power that solves that problem or like punishes that to kind of force those people to split up. I think I mentioned it before. It hasn't made it into the game. Someday I'll figure it out, but I also see that there's a problem, and JMO characters are all part of the problem. Is a lot of times when a fight breaks down, someone will get away, right? Someone will escape and go to get a res beacon. And I would love, for example, to have a power that somehow stops that, right? Like one of my older ideas was a giant dome that like you drop, and the only way to leave it is to kill the person who like has the power or make them drop the power or something like that. That's extreme. That might not be it, but that's like how I approach it. I'm like, okay, here's a problem I see in the game. Well, how can we make? I think I said to someone one time, like I might make the poison, right? Like might make Brawl, but then I'm like, well, I need to make a character that's also the antidote that like stops Brawl, or make a
Yeah,
power that punishes Brawl. And I like to think about it that way too.
that's kind of cool. It's like you're playing chess on both sides. You're sitting there,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
like on both sides of the chessboard, and you're like trying to figure out, hey, okay, well, I'm gonna move here, but I also got to move here. You just get down to the same amount of pieces, and you have to come to a draw. So,
Yeah, someone commented that I'm really harsh on my hunters once they're like design locked or once I've moved on, and I'm like, well, yeah, because like I will fight for them tooth and nail until they're like design locked, and then they're my enemy, right? My next hunter must fight this monster that I've built, and so yeah, it's really interesting and it's fun, right? To like think of the Achilles heel. I think that's something I've gotten better about over time is thinking about like, okay, yes, my hunter has X power, but with a power fantasy, there's usually a curse that people are okay with accepting. Like,
Yeah.
I think Flex is probably one of the sharpest in the game, which is like she can go infinite, right? She can dodge roll and be Neo and you just can't hit her as long as she lands her shots. If she misses her shot, right? Like the curse is part of why she's cool, and I think that's like the most successful hunter designs, right? Um, Something I need to get better about, but yeah, it's fun.
I love when you refer to them as the internal names because, like, obviously, they got their actual
Oh,
designs.
shit. My
Shiv,
bad.
Stalker, aka now Jin. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a little side note: do you like the names
Yeah.
for your hunters?
I love quite a few of them. I like Jin a lot. It might be one of my favorites, even though it's kind of simpler. I thought Brawl fit. There were a few other names internally for Brawl, and I was kind of worried about where we might land, but I think that one's really cool. Myth was like my top pick, so for Myth, so I really like that we landed that one. I think in general, yeah, I feel like my hunters have great names, so
Go ahead,
I
Manny.
have a question from Steven Eater in the chat.
Uh-huh.
He says, "What kind of challenges come with designing characters that inherently require more skill or mechanics?" So, because Brawl and Jin, are harder characters, is it easy to balance those characters, or do you have to like help the new players out in some way, or like?
Yeah, I mean it's really you're describing it well, which is
Yeah.
like, yeah, some hunters it's fine if they're hard to play. Like I think we got graphs at one point that showed like win rate per
Mhm.
MMR, and Brawls in low MMR is like just terrible. Like he's doing awful. But then you see it just goes up and to the right, up and to the right, and then when you get to the top tier, he's like all of a sudden way strong. And we were like, that's his hero fantasy. He's meant
Mm.
to feel like that. And so we're like, this is actually a success and we can be happy. It is hard though. I think in some ways it's harder again because we're top down to have more skill expression in the kits, right? You're really like I think you're taking on a lot more work in some ways whenever you want to put high skill expression in the kits. But because our roster is so limited, I think we tend to push for everyone should be very skill expressive. Like we don't I think Firefox or Felix has historically been difficult because he is meant to be easier and he's meant to be like anyone can pick him up, but that limits his high MMR win rate, right? Like he can't if he's really easy to play and doesn't express that much skill, then he's not allowed to have the highest win rate. And that I think that is an ongoing struggle, right? To like
Mm.
give him enough skill expression so that he is playable because there are high level players who want to play him. And I think when the rosters is small, I think it's a reasonable request to want to play him at a high level. I think it's just very difficult for some hunters. Um, I'm always shocked though. I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this part out loud, but I'm always shocked at how forgiving people are of ranged characters. Ranged characters are very like yeah, I don't know. Oh, here's your leak. I've worked on a ranged
Oh.
character that hopefully some people will get to play soon. And yeah, I this character's insane.
Oh
I
no.
played it I played it for like months internally and I'm like winning games and I'm like this thing is he's so strong and the feedback is pretty like yeah, he's cool, he's good. There's like hardly any I'm like if this was Brawl, early Brawl, it's like negative feedback threads, like 30 comments. JMO remove this character. And I made like what I perceive as like one of my strongest hunters in some ways, but the feedback is very like chill. And I
Yeah.
actually nerfed him multiple times just because I felt like I was too successful on him. And so it's a weird experience to work on like a extreme ranged character for me.
Bro
But
felt
yeah,
like
it
the
was fun.
Doctor of Frankenstein. He's like, "What have I done? What have I
Yeah, I'm like,
created?"
yeah.
I think one of the issues that it comes with like melee characters in this game is like when you get on top of someone, it like becomes much harder to like aim at them because they're like
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Mhm.
spinning
For the
around the character.
counterplay, the play
Yeah,
against.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that's like kind of the issues that Brawl runs into, which I think has been a very successful fix for Brawl. I think that he's like in a really good spot right now where he's like, not too weak and not too strong. Just
Yeah.
maybe the ultimate is a little frustrating for people sometimes. But
Yeah, yeah. That makes sense. I'm in some ways I'm very happy where he landed. I think it's hard to stick that landing. I tend to go either too high or too low. I think you guys jokes on Kaiju Power Hour like this patch Brawl's gonna be wild and next patch he's gonna be dead. And I was like on the plane listening and I'm just like shaking my head because you're right, right? Like it it took a long time to start like narrowing in on where where is he healthy and how can he be. But I'm quite happy with where he is right now. So
all right.
we
So
got there.
now we're gonna move on to Jin because I want to talk
Okay.
about Jin too. Because I was
Yes.
actually playing a little bit of Jin this playtest, and I was
All
actually
right.
having a lot of fun with him. The only thing I personally didn't enjoy was his ultimate. I found
Okay.
it like very clunky and very like weird to use. Obviously, I could see the vision. There's some cool plays you can do with it, but what do you currently think about his ultimate and like what are your plans for Jin if you have any idea?
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious what you think specifically is clunky. It is in some ways this is the best it's ever been. It's
Yeah.
getting polished, it's getting worked on. They're doing like engineering support for it. There are still things I would like to do with the clone, like I think one thing that's really clunky or bizarre is if you and and maybe I'm just bad, but if you dash, right, the clone is mimicking all of your inputs. So if you dash, he dashes. I often put him on the edge of abyss, and then I'll glide in to fight and expect to be able to rewind to him. But when I dash in the fight, he just dashes off the cliff and kills himself. And then I have no rewind target, right?
Yeah.
And that messes me up all the time. Like I almost wish and I've thought about adding this for a while, but I wish he would like auto glide, or he knew to glide when he was over
Oh my
the abyss,
god.
for example.
God, that'd
I
be so
think
scary.
yeah, I think that would be cool. I do think his aiming should have gotten a lot better this round. There is a problem, I think, which is like since you can micro him, that eats your input and that makes it harder to swap with him, right? It's a controls
Yeah.
issue to some
Yeah.
degree, right? Like I only have one button and I'm trying to let you micro him, which maybe I shouldn't, but I really like that dream. And then but I also want you to be able to swap with him. So that ult is I think it's quite hard to get value out of. And the thing that is, again, it feels like nobody's balancing the game, and I can't believe it's still this way, is the clone does full damage right now. It takes like significantly more damage, but it does full damage. It takes his whatever items he has, it does the same AP as him. And I've seen a few people internally do like double execute someone, and it's like I don't know how much damage. It's way too much damage for one hunter to do in one instance. But that's
But it
been in
never
the
happens.
game. It never happens. I've seen it happen a few times, and I am
Yeah.
terrified. I think I'm constantly like, someday someone will main Jin to the level
Yeah.
where like he just won't be acceptable. And another thing that I love this patch was I think I did nothing but nerf him. I like the playtest before, his win rate was not good. He was like bottom quartile. And I looked at that and I had played a lot of him and I did nothing but nerf him anyway because I was just like, I don't know. I don't think I can buff this character. I gave him like, I mean, they're all small nerfs, but I think he got like 3 or 4 small nerfs and his win rate went way up. And I'm like, that just shows that like, I guess we changed TTK, which he directly benefits from.
Mhm.
And that's probably the big reason, but I'm very glad that I nerfed him because he would have been a lot scarier had I not. And yeah, I don't know. He's very interesting. I do agree the ult is clunky, and there's like work there to be. There's like forever work to make that better and
Yeah.
better. But
I think
yeah.
his E, his like air slam or whatever. I think it's his
Hmm.
E, right? I have different
Yeah, yeah.
keybinds. Um,
It's
I think it's
Q
a
default, but it's fine.
Q default.
okay. Sorry, his Q. I think it's a really cool ability that you get to like keep the second slam until you land on the ground. I think that is
Oh
like
yeah,
I think that's super interesting, and there's like a lot of things that I was like thinking about with it that
that came
like I
from
didn't think about
that came
before.
from Annocation. She came up with that.
And on, yeah, okay, cool,
Anan,
yeah,
yeah.
good,
She
good.
was like, it was really good feedback because she was like, someone had called out it's unfair that he could just hold it. You know, he could walk up to you, do the first half, hold it for like 2 or 3 seconds. And I think, yeah, she suggested, what if he must use it before he touches the ground? And what I love about that, and I do this all the time, is you can chain your dashes. You can
Mm,
really greed. You can greed with glider, like
yep.
right in front of someone to try and like get a little more distance. And it's like, I love that. Anytime you can make a character greed, I feel like you're in a really good space. And so,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
I think it was one of the coolest. Like once I realized that's what it was, I was like, wait, this is so cool. Like I could do like a cool glider jump and then to like slam on someone. I thought it was really cool.
I was
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
say, like, one thing that I thought was cool, you can like throw your RMB out, just have it like flying at somebody. And you could press your E, so you're already up in the air. When it hits, then you can like kind of slam down. It was like some
That
pretty
is
cool tech.
cool.
There's some pretty cool tech you can do with it. And like, I think I talked with you about Jin a little bit, talking about like, how it felt poor that all you had to do originally was RMB slam, right? Like, because you were telling me like with melee hunters, it's kind of like, especially with like Jin, more of like the assassin type. It's kind of cool with like how you need to like use a lot more of your kit, a lot more combos, and then like to like because it's more of like a fighter character, right? So you want to like get the
Hmm.
kit used, get the slam, but you also want to make sure that they have the resets in order to do it again, so they're not just like, which I think is really, I think it's undervalued by some players. I think some players are like, oh, why does this character have so many resets but my hunter doesn't? Well, a melee hunter, I can kind of see like where you're coming from. They need the resets in order to be able to continuously play the fight. Otherwise, like you said, what is the rest of that team gonna do? Just collapse on top of you, and then there you
Right.
go. So
And he's a really interesting character because Kingpin existed. And I
hmm
was like, how do I make an assassin? Kingpin's burst is so high and his reliability is very high and he's tanky. And I was like over here like, let me make a glass cannon assassin. And then I very quickly came to I don't even think my character's allowed to kill people as fast as Kingpin is allowed to kill people, right? Like the feedback is just dreadful if I do that. And so I tried to skate this line of like he's close to killing people as fast as Kingpin, but and then I'm like, well, why would you pick him, right? Like what's the why not just be Kingpin? And so I looked at Kingpin's weaknesses and I was like, well, he only has one rotation. He's only killing one person, right? And then he's on
Mhm.
cooldown and he could use ult, but ult is kind of, clunky in the sense that it's a very opportunistic ability. And so I was like, well, that's the trick then. This assassin maybe has a slightly longer to kill time, and is very, very squishy, but can just go, full highlight reel and wipe a whole team given resets. And so that was part of like just differentiating the two hunters was like challenging, but it makes the character feel fresh, I think.
Oh, definitely. And
Mhm.
one thing that was mentioned, now we're talking about your beautiful melee hunters here. I'm not gonna try to butcher the name, but I think it's Geckost.
Yeah.
From
I'm
Reddit.
so bad with names.
Seeing that you're the developer of Brawl and Jin, is adding more melee hunters a goal in development overall, considering the game is marketed as a shooter? Personally, they'd love more melee hunters.
Yeah, this question's hard. I don't know if there is like we want more melee characters. I just wanted to make sure that I put my foot in the door that we have melee characters,
Yeah.
right? Which
Okay.
is what I was doing for all. I think in the future there will be more. I don't know that we need them necessarily right now. I think there are other doors I need to put my foot in and make sure we have X character
What other
before.
doors?
You could tell me, but uh there's definitely some. I haven't. I mean, he almost put his foot in the stealth door, but that door
Mm.
is lose your
That
foot in
that
there.
passive is still very cool that Jin
Hey,
had a long
the
time ago.
sunlight shadow passive, like that
Yeah.
kind I just keep that, never remove that from the code, okay? That's not a trash bin code right there.
Yeah, it's pretty good code. So far it has stayed in the game.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I do think, yeah, I don't know. There are other doors I would love to see. I would love to broaden the roster more, but I think, yeah, I love that our bones are shooter, but our bones are also MOBA. And I think when I said earlier, like, I want to pay off different power fantasies. I think the reason you play a hero game is to be your favorite X-Men or to be your favorite My Hero Academia character, right? And so the more fantasies we can pay off, the better. And that's what I wanted from Melee. I was like, our game feels infinitely better to me than like Dota. I love Dota, but if we can't have a Juggernaut, like if we can't have that type of Melee character, it makes the game feel less full, less exciting to me, and that's why I push so hard for him. Um, and again, I think there are other characters that we aren't paying off, like that, there's still opportunity space out there that I'd like to
Mhm.
keep exploring.
Oh,
More
well,
hunters coming soon.
Yeah, yeah.
soon,
Uh,
Please.
team.
Speaking of new hunters, we have a question from Soya in the chat. Since JMO, you joined the character creation event that was held on Discord, I think a few weeks ago, have you gained any inspiration from everyone sharing their characters? And do you think the events are good? And will you be joining the November one?
I think I will be joining the November one. I really enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of creativity. I I don't know, it's just fun. It was fun to like sit in and listen to people's ideas, and some of it's like some of it can be fulfilling where you're like, "Oh yeah, we thought about this," like this is the space we're interested in. And it's exciting to see what the community, like I don't know how many of them are water mages, and I think water mage is like I have a design doc, I've had one for like a year that's a water mage, but I'm just like when am I going to get to this?
Hmm.
Um and seeing how much the community was excited about it made me like consider, right? Like should I, because I think I have a backlog or catalog in my head of like if I what are my next four hunters, and I'm as I come up with new ideas I kind of stack rank them against each other. And yeah, I don't know, the community thing can push certain things more forefront of mind. And yeah, I don't know, I just enjoyed it. I don't know, I've even been recently working on a new hunter, and I was like, I need to go revisit those and see if there's any like really juicy ideas I can steal, because I'll definitely steal you guys' ideas. Am I allowed to say that? I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Just say, just say it.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Another really
Legally distinct stolen ideas.
he just goes, JMO, you can
Steal
steal.
Hogbearer. It's
Yeah, I was
fine.
gonna say you can steal Hogbearer, JMO. It's totally
It's
fine. Like,
so
listen,
good.
listen. You could totally steal.
Someday.
And this is a question from Twin A on Reddit. Is there any one hunter in particular that he or the team, or you or the team, is especially proud of? Like, and then what mechanic or feature are they also most proud of, be it for the creativity or difficulty of implementing?
Ooh, difficulty of implementing is hard. I think Seraph Backpack is maybe a great answer just for the company as a whole. Like, Seraph Backpack was, I think, somewhat, it's had a lot of iterations to get smoother and smoother. And I think it's like genius when I play the character. Like, I didn't really come up with or help that much with that ability, but I think like when I was thinking about the other day, just as a support player, it asks me to dive in to the fray. There's like explosions happening, and I saving Private Ryan, pick up my kingpin, and I fly away. And I'm a rabbit. It's like that. I don't know. It's so fucking good. So like that one's way up there for me. I've heard a lot of like from a personal one that I worked on, I've heard a lot of like journalists comment on like SUPERVIVE is awesome. Their bow character can walk through walls like an X-Men, and I'm like that just put a smile on my face because I remember they were like, "We want a bow character, J-Mo," and I was like, "Okay," but like I don't know, Hanzo, Ash, all these characters are just so boring to me. Like they're cool, but like
Yeah.
I love bows. Like in the Hunt Showdown, I'm just
Yeah.
in the brush with a bow the whole time, you know. But like I can't. I knew I couldn't do super high damage, which is what most games do for bows. And so I was in this space where I was like, this character needs that special sauce, you know. They need something that surprises you. And so I don't remember how I got there exactly. I think I said at one point it'd be cool if she could leave her ghost scout the front line, then rewind to her ghost, you know? Like that was something we had talked about where we're like, yeah. And then I said, oh yeah, her ghost, when she's in ghost form, she can walk through walls. And then I stopped and I'm like, wait, that could just be it. I'm like, she cares a lot about angles. She can't shoot through walls like Shrike. Like she has no ability at the time that went through walls or over walls. And so I was like, what if she could just walk through them? Like, and it sounded so broken. I remember internally people were like, we can't. Like, and in retrospect, it is very broken, and I've had to do nothing but nerf this character to make it work. But yeah, I love that I don't think too much about that. I just walk full force into the fire and see how we're gonna make it work. And I'm like, yeah, I'm really happy with that ability. I think it's really
Yeah.
interesting, and it
I
gives
think it is
her
too.
texture, you know.
Yep, definitely. And this has been asked twice in chat now, so I'm going to ask it, okay?
Okay.
When are we getting a character with pet? You know, fighting with a pet. When are we gonna have a pet, a minion, something, a character
Hippers.
with exactly.
I can't wait. Is all I'm gonna say. I don't know.
Sounds like there's something cooking in turtle.
I think there are a lot of hurdles. It's a very there are certain things that are expensive to do, right? Like performance
Yeah.
and BR, and some things are just technically difficult to do, and controlling minions or having a pet, like it is something we've entertained even. There was I guess this is another leak, but not a leak because Myth is already out. At one point that was Myth's whole uh her hero fantasy. She had a bow, she would stalk, you know, she came out of like an iteration of Stalker almost, where it was like she would iterate, she would like hide, stalk, and she had a fox pet, or like she had a minion that was with her that helped her hunt, and it would like howl when it saw enemies, like when enemies entered its vision cone, and it could like res at beacons. And so
Oh
like
my
we've toyed with it, and it was very fun. Like it could res wisps for you, it could stomp enemy wisps, it could attack enemies, and it became like this whole, creature that you were microing, and it was a lot of fun. I would love for us to do it. It's technically difficult, it's expensive, so we paused that, right? We were like, let's do something that we can, get in front of the players sooner, because
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It probably would have been just a really long time before you guys would have got to play that character, and we need more hunters. So it's something we would love to do. I think it's just yeah, it's probably a bit down the road before we'll take that on. I think Valorant maybe was in a similar spot where they waited until, they were more secure, and then they're like, okay, let's do a character that, controls like other things. And I don't know. It's something I'd love to do, and I'm sure we'll do it. It's just probably going to
Makes
be a
sense.
little
Makes
bit of time. Yeah.
I was gonna say, does Jin actually lay like some groundwork for that though? Like, if Jin would be like kind of like the cloned, can it kind of lay a little bit of groundwork towards like a character like that?
I don't have enough wrinkles on my brain to know if that's true, but I
Okay,
think
okay.
it must be partially true. It does do something. I think the reason he was allowed, and probably one of the reasons we cut Myth's pet, was there was essentially a discussion like how much uptime does this character have, and I think my answer was like 80 to 90% uptime, and that's just massive cost, right? Jin's is nice because its uptime is quite low, so it keeps it much cheaper, and that's probably. But I do think you're right. It does lay some of the groundwork, I think.
Nice.
But yeah.
Cool. All right, next question. I'm going to go a little bit of an explanation for the people who aren't aware, but there's no NDA anymore, so I can talk about it. But a long time ago, there was this character named Beebo, and Beebo was created by JMO and Dim Apples. It's a little penguin who had a machine gun, a bat, and like water balloons, I think. And he'd ride around on a shopping cart and kidnap people and throw down landmines. He was a crazy character. Will we ever see Beebo again?
Will we ever see Beebo again? I am sure we will see some iteration on Beebo eventually. I don't know if it'll be the exact iteration you guys played, but I love the war criminal Beebo. I think this is another example where the fan reaction was so strong, even internally, almost like I've never seen before on one of my hunters. So I feel like it would be silly of us to not look back into him eventually. But yeah, he will probably be quite a different character when he eventually comes back. Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
His origin story is maybe crazier though, which
Oh,
is
what's his origin?
Oh,
because I knew we were gonna do a Freaky Week, and I think I had like two or three characters. I had like 4 characters listed that I wanted to try, and I did one of those Google wheels where it spins and tells you what to make. And one of the design docs just said penguin or something, and it landed on penguin, and yeah, it was because C Tom had showed me this like music video of this little penguin, and he's so cute, and C Tom's like, I just want this. And I'm like, so I had written in my doc penguin. I don't even remember if it landed on penguin or if it landed on like Earth Mage, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna do the penguin. Like, but I ended up doing it, and the original version was like, I just wanted to make him cute, so I made him a penguin, and then I was like, what is his gameplay? And I was like, well, he's kind of a troll character. What if he's like memeing on BRs? And so in his original iteration, he would spawn with 1 LMB, and I think it was the baseball bat. And then you would kill minions, and they would drop bonus loot since you were him. They would drop like a slingshot, or they would drop an SMG or a shotgun. And the idea was that like you literally could change your LMB. Like your consumable slots would be full of different guns, and you could swap guns in the middle of combat. And so you were like playing a more traditional BR as
Yeah.
this penguin. And it was funny, right, to see him pull out a shotgun or pull out a sniper rifle, and like he's almost memeing on the other characters. And
Yeah.
that's how he got the car. I was like, well, he needs a car because you drive a car in PUBG. That's funny. And that's where the cart came from. And like, yeah, I also wanted him to be Kirby. And at one point he could Tom Kench eat people, but that was really hard to build and balance. And so I just cut that eventually. But yeah, he is like so insane in some ways. But yeah, he has to come back someday. He's just in jail right
Right.
now. He's a war
A war
criminal.
criminal. Yeah.
he's a war criminal. He goes against
That's
it all.
awesome.
When
That
he
is
breaks
great.
out, you guys will find, you'll know.
Got it. One of my favorite things from Freaky Week was it was Kivik, myself, and Lemur. I forget who else it was, but I remember every Gimmick was playing Beebo, he would just shopping cart pick up Lemur on Celeste, and he would just keep taking him. He would just run him into a wall, and I loved that it did team damage. I love the fact that when you like crashed into the wall, you just exploded, and it would hurt you too. And every time Lemur would like use his dash to get out of it or something, and then it was so fun. Like it was just like some fun memories was allowing us to play like a Freaky Week. I think it was really cool and really neat to see because obviously they do this in like a lot of companies they'll do this or some companies will do this. Came from like Riot and that kind of thing. So it's really cool to see.
I mean, the team damage came from in PUBG. You can kill your friends with a car. So I was like, of course he does team damage. I don't know, it breaks the rules. I also made a joke like he has a fourth. We had a rule internally that no one can know. And this rule I think is no longer standing, but at the time there was a rule that all the characters would be mammals, and so they're like, but he's a penguin, he breaks the rule, you know. And I was like, yeah, but he breaks, he's a fourth wall break, he just breaks every rule, right? Like he does not care. Oh, everyone has 1 LMB, well he has like 5, you know. And oh, you have to be a mammal. Nope, he's not a mammal. And yeah, you don't do team damage. Well, he does team damage. It was like so ridiculous, that Freaky Week. He's like so much work too, jeez. But yeah, I don't know. He's gonna, someday we'll get him back.
Someday.
Speaking of things, someday. Has there been anything crazy that you have made that the players have yet to see ever that you can tell us about that may not exist anymore?
I almost answered this earlier with Myth's Fox
Myth
pet.
Yeah.
That one was amazing, but also kind of cursed, but also amazing. I think I talked about the dome earlier. I really liked I think part of the reason was it protected you from the storm. It caged in everyone so that you could fight, but it also protected you from the storm. I think that was the part that was cursed.
Yeah,
like if I brought
that's
that
definitely
item back,
a JMO character.
yeah. Well, it was a power. It was just a power. And at the time we didn't have red powers.
Okay.
It probably would be a red power if you brought it back now. So, what else has been like a JMO thing that just didn't make it?
Did you create the squirrel power during Freaky Week where you can become the like squirrel and run across the map at like Mach 20?
I just put the art in.
Okay, never mind.
Jason, one of our lead engineers, built that. Maybe you guys never saw it. He also made a drone that you could fly around.
Oh, I saw
yeah. We saw the drone. That was in there.
That was really cool. I love that. I would love. Yeah, have we ever done a power stealing? I think there was one at some point. There was a power that when you killed an enemy, you took their signature ability, and I just chose at random what I thought. Like I went through the entire roster and chose the signature ability, but your power, like if you killed Kingpin last, you had Hook as a power, and if you killed Shrike, it gave you the LMB. You could just shoot the LMB. It was absurd.
That sounds fun, but
that sounds really fun, but crazy strong too.
Yeah, it was is another engineering like very high cost ability, very high cost in general, but yeah, it was definitely fun. Maybe someday we'll try something like that, but maybe not as a power. Power was probably not the right spot for that.
No, that's some cool stuff. I was gonna say over the years they've been creating a lot of things. I would say one of my favorite things, you know, you're talking about the dome, right? One of my favorite things you ever put on back when it was Ronin was the bubble.
Oh, the bubble shield.
I like the bubble shield. A lot of people hated it, but I will say his bubble shield era was one of my favorite eras. I loved seeing the bubble shield.
You know the bubble shield? I think you guys played this. There was a bug where it would eat ally and enemy projectiles that were fired from inside the bubble.
Yes.
So you just couldn't fight him in the bubble. It's so ridiculous. But yeah, bubble shield's great. That should come back in some form.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Lemur's like,
maybe on a different character. Maybe. We have a question from the real car. Beyond any additional hunters, are there plans to add more maps, or are we going to stick with one for a while? And I know that you've worked on the map a ton. Is there a second map that you're working on?
I don't know if we would do a second map, but I think we will iterate on the map we have and make big changes to like regions that exist. I want to see some new regions. It might be a spoiler. We're not. I don't think we have anything too crazy cooked up right now, but we're working on tech that's going to let us like do more new stuff. So it's in
Oh,
the works that we'll try. I want to see like some new regions, some new biomes and stuff added on. So it's a thing that we're cooking up, but it's not quite there yet.
Yeah. So you
But
definitely
yeah,
would be cool
oh,
to
go
have
ahead.
islands like swap out,
That would be
Disney
sick.
per game.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. I was gonna
That's
say
expensive, but it's,
I
it's
said
definitely been brought up a few times. I think that's pretty cool.
the kind of like thought process would be more like Fortnite, where it kind of evolved, the map itself evolved, and you never really like. Yes, there would be times where the entire map would change, but it would still be the kind of the shape of the same map, instead of like Apex, where it's like they create like 5 maps and then they have a pool of
Yeah,
maps.
I mean, I don't know what I don't know what everyone on the team thinks, and players might not
Yeah,
love my answer, but I think that my answer is what we like about one map is you kind of get all of the experiences, or you have the opportunity for all of the experiences. Where I worry if we did like desert map or something, you would load in, see you're on desert map, and you're just like kind of sad, right? You're like, man, I want to fight in
Yeah.
the
Mage
chaos
Bog.
steps, or I want to fight in Mage Bog. Yeah, and you're like, that texture's gone, that mastery over the map is also gone, right? Like you're like, I know how to move through Mage Bog, and I know what it means when team is doing this vault. And I think when you start to split that, it's kind of sadder to me personally. And so what I'd rather see is just keep cranking the size of the current map, and maybe someday the circle won't encompass the whole map. Like maybe the map will be so big that you can't necessarily get to
Wow.
Mage Bog. I think that would be interesting to try. But yeah, I would rather go down that route than build a whole second map, I guess, is
Yeah, that
my,
would be crazy.
yeah.
yeah. One of the most important questions, though, JMO. Okay,
Okay,
we asked
okay.
this last time. All right, we asked this last time. One of the most important questions, and I'm always gonna quote the person who asked this question. Excel Turbo on Twitter last time asked, "How many mozzarella sticks could you eat in one sitting? Marinara is available."
How many mozzarella sticks?
I
Hmm,
know it's tough. It's tough. I know we had
it
it last
seems
time.
tough. Like I bet you can get to like 20, right? Before you're like, maybe you could even go higher. I bet you could get in the
Like
20s,
I said, like
right?
for me right now, I'd probably hit a 20, but I'd say back in my prime, probably hitting like 45. Like I could do it.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fair.
I just
I
feel,
I think
yeah, I feel like I'd get sick, like at some point.
I'm doing like 14
yeah, I
max.
mean, you're gonna get sick when you pass 20 for sure.
I said,
That's
I feel
the
bad for whoever has like a lactose problem, and they're like, I just got to keep going for the money. It's like at some point you're just like, well, I've already hit that
uh
line, so
I
it's
think I
just
have pills
unfortunate.
for that. You just take one of those.
Just have one of
Just
those on
slam
hand.
them.
Cheating, he's cheating.
Just so
Just fixing
lamb.
my biology. Come on.
Oh my gosh. One of the questions I kind of wanted to ask, like, this is just, I guess, this some personal questions. And the current roster of like hunters, like, what's your favorite hunter? Like, who do
Like
you?
favorite to play?
Yeah, yeah, just all around. Like, it could be play, like, just your favorite hunter. It could be JMO, like, judged wise too. Like, you could be like, okay, this is what I like about this hunter, and this is why I like to play
Yeah,
this hunter.
I mean, I know my answer, but I feel so egotistical, I guess, but whatever. I really like playing Jin. I think
Okay.
like Jin. I thought Brawl would be my favorite, right? Like Brawl is almost like made for me. I guess Jin in some ways represents a player archetype I really like too. There's something about like I know I'm not that good at Jin that I could be playing better, and it keeps me hooked. Where I just keep. I think Brawl is in that space too, but there's something about just how like Jin works faster than my brain works, and I find that addicting. And so I really enjoy Jin. I think like the hero that surprises me the most though that I love is probably Aluna. Because I never play supports in almost any game I play, and every time I play Aluna, it's so much fun. And I'm just like, this character's amazing. Like this character, yeah, just impresses me from a hero design kind of
Mhm.
perspective. But yeah,
Right.
those probably my two picks.
I'm right there with you with that Aluna pick. Like, that is just like peak for me. I just like if I'm like brain rot 16 hours in, like I'm just
Yeah.
like that. I'm just like full lay back in the chair, just lock me in the Aluna. I'm just running like there was like I'm just running into my team's fighting in the forge. There's no way out of the forge otherwise. There's just the one forge and sky rats. My team's running in, dying over and over again. I run in, pick up one, take them out, they heal. Then I run in, pick up another, take them out. The other one goes back in. It's just constant fighting. But I'm just having a good time. I'm not doing
It's
anything.
it's so crazy how the art fits it so well too. Like being a
Mhm.
rabbit and like just what you're describing, right? It's like go out forage, come back home, go out forage, like I don't know, there's something really fun about it that I
Yeah.
like.
No, that's great. Lemur, you got any more questions?
Yeah, I got another question from Steven Eater in the chat. What was the single most important crossroads / deciding moment where you guys needed to course correct so far in your development experience? So, like, what's the biggest like
The
shift?
I mean, you guys experienced it. I
Yeah,
don't know if you'll
I feel
remember,
like I
but
know the answer. Yeah, yeah.
do you know what it's got to be Combat 3.0, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Um, we had been toying with in some ways like early on we made the call for high ground, which I think I really liked that call that we kept high ground. That led to charge jump, and then I remember like I don't know, we were playing the game. The game was fun. Everyone liked it. I mean, you guys were there. You were playing it too. We were already playing with players and it was lots of fun. But we just kind of came to like you can't 1v in enough. You don't have enough personal agency. Jump is cool, but the game doesn't feel like it's paying off action game enough. And
Mhm.
so I don't remember exactly how it was, but Marauder went in at some point and like 2x'd I think damage. Maybe it started as I know he 2x movement speed at one point, but maybe before that he even ran a test at one point where it was like at night you take 2x damage. Just everyone in the game does 2x damage at night. And it made the internal team, they hated it, right? They're like, it's so gimmicky. Why does it only happen at night? And design got together, and I think Marauder was out that week. We got together, and across the room, we all agreed that the 2x damage was amazing. That the team hated it, but it was good. It was good design, and it did make the game better. But we're like, what do we do? And at some point, we're just like, what if we turn it on all the time? Like, what if the real problem is you can't play around night, and night is like a difficult thing to play around? And it sounded crazy. He wasn't in, but we're like, let's just turn it on all the time. I think we did that, and people started to turn around. They started to be, I mean, not everyone, not at first. There were some people that really still didn't like it. I think he came back, sped up movement speed. We started speeding up all the hunters. I remember at some point, Void, I think way back in the day, Void's ult was like 3 or 4 seconds longer or something. And I remember them turning it up and just being like were they like he can move during the warm up? I don't remember what the change was, but I remember that play test where Void just looked like a god because like everything I called it super Loki at the time because I was like we just sped the entire game up. It became Combat 3.0, and yeah, it took some of the internal team a while, but again, it was we put it in front of players and players were just like this is it. This is crack. Like I remember us being like it's so much more addicting than it ever was. It was like sugar. And so that's hard to beat. And I think that decision that led to charge jump becoming jump, and that led to glider, and that like everything kind of comes as a spin-off of that decision. And so I think that was one of the most important decisions we made. Maybe it's not the most, but it's one of the most important or
Yeah,
game altering decisions.
I remember it was like I always remember like the month like we had like this like weird February test and it was just like it just felt so like everyone's like yeah the game's fun but the game's just it's missing something. And then I remember like it was like this hiatus. Like we actually didn't play the game for like 2 months. And I just remember you guys go, hey, we're gonna have 4 hunters. We're gonna play arena. That's all we're gonna do for this test. Cause you guys came out with deathmatch at the same time, like right after that. And we just played it. And I was just like, I just remember sitting there like, Kimmick didn't get to play the test. I go, Kimmick, this game is like it's something now. Like I mean, like before it was something, but no. Like you don't understand. They removed Flash. They have like this whole new thing. It's just so fast. It's like it's addicting. Like I just want to play again. I want to play BR. Like I said that. I remember typing my feedback. Let me play BR in this, please. Like this is so good. Like I just need it now. Like I was craving it. So
Yeah,
I
those
do.
numbers were high too for I think a lot of things we test don't score. It's hard, right, to get people
Mhm.
to get a big wide range of people to all think something is good is just a difficult thing to do, but the numbers were quite high for that change. So
Yeah.
people were feeling it for sure.
Definitely. All right. Well, Lemur, I'm going to say if you have any more questions, feel free to ask them now because we're hitting the 1 hour, 18-minute mark, which is totally fine for a JMO.
I just can't pass up on
I'm
this
fine.
question.
Okay.
JMO, now that Huntress has mainly been fixed, for falling through floors, how much time do you save per day? This is from Anion.
I mean, she knows I didn't spend that much time fixing them because they last for those bugs were in forever. I think that I spent a good portion of one of my weekends fixing Huntress falling through the floor bugs. Like my own time, I was like Friday night, my friends probably want to hang out, whatever. I'm just gonna stay up, you know. Saturday, my wife's like, let's hang out, and I'm like, I gotta fix Huntress, but like she's like, yeah, just go fix Huntress bugs or whatever. But like, it only took me like 2 days, it wasn't too bad. And I think, yeah, I don't know, Huntress. That's another leak. Huntress, we have some plans. Someday, I think Huntress will be in an even better state with her Ghost Walk, and she'll have less
Ooh.
problems in this space. So, yeah. I think that there's a nice thing that happens on Hunters is once they get to this cusp of like, okay, we're committed to keeping this Hunter, they're gonna stay in the game, they just get better and better and better, right? Like you get people on the team who are like genius engineers start playing your character and they're like, why doesn't it work like X? And I'm like, well, because I don't have wrinkles. I can't do that. And then they go do it and the character's like way better. I think Glider was that with the Leech. Like, I remember it was like I was sure, right? And once we signed off on Glider, him and Bosek went in and like they made it feel so good. Like it felt so, and it just got better and better the more, we have just an amazing team. So it's always, yeah, that's the thing. I think like once something gets locked and we keep it, and the devs start dogpiling it, those features get rock solid, and that's really cool. It's a bit of a
Definitely.
tangent, but yeah.
No, it's definitely. I say, do you have any questions for us, JMO?
I had one question, which
Okay.
is I'm curious if you guys could just like magic wish a feature into the game, snap your fingers and make it happen. What would you add? It could be a hunter, it could be a power, it could be, I don't know, your favorite feature from some other game. I don't care if it's balanced. I don't care if it's good for the game. I mean, I want it to be good for the game, but
I don't. I don't
yeah.
have to think on this. I already know. White phosphorus. I want the ability to elude in an area. I've told you that. And it was there for a
Wait,
patch.
what?
It was there
what?
for a patch. Okay, so it's like smoke screen. Okay, it's like a smoke screen. Like you throw it on smoke. You remember old Fisherman
Okay.
Ultimate? Like you have the smoke screen. You did. It partially was there up in Dawn Caps. Like when you would
Okay.
glide, like the little smoke clouds. But I
Oh, like
want
a
it as
vision
a
blocking.
yes, but I want it to be able to I just want it back. I just want to be able to toss down like this and you just lose sight of things. Like you can't see
Okay,
inside of it.
wait. I have so many follow-up
Okay,
questions.
that's fine. That's fine. Hit me. I'm
Do
ready.
you throw it at your feet and it hides you from enemy teams? Do you throw it at enemies and it blocks their vision so they can't see because they're in it? Like, what are
I
you
think
thinking?
when you throw it, anybody inside of it loses vision.
Okay.
Like it can be
Can
beneficial and disbeneficial
can
at the
you
same
see
time.
through it? Like
No.
if okay.
So it just removes it limits your vision to like the small cone, the small circle, like what the circle would be. That's all you
Right.
have.
But and anyone looking in cannot see someone who's standing behind it.
No, correct. You can't see around it and you can't see inside of it.
All right, so here's the problem because I've literally
Okay.
built it exactly how you've
Okay,
designed
okay,
it.
okay.
The problem is there's now no longer like throwing it at an enemy
Okay,
actually helps them because they can just fall behind it and now
okay,
they're hidden from you.
okay.
If they stay in it, it's negative, but you also can't necessarily see them, right? Because you can't see through it.
Okay.
So I think you have to pick a side, which is, do I throw it at my feet and people can see through it, but they can't see into it? Or do I throw it at enemies' feet and I guess people can, yeah, is this the same answer? People can see through it? No, I think it's you can't see through it, but you can see into it. I think the enemy one is less clear to me, but yeah. there's still I need to solve this design space, but you're cooking. I'm here for it. That's like
I listen. You've already said, you've thought about it, and like it's going. I just like from the fact like one thing that for me and I come from Call of Duty, so like one of the major things that I like smoke screens. I think they're really cool. I think when you play a game and your vision is limited, like you don't have like as much vision, like you're like limited somehow, you can be limited of that vision. I think it's pretty cool because it changes the way you have to play the game. You have to play a lot more passive, a lot more scared. In League, there's a champion called Nocturne. He like completely gets rid of sight of vision, and like you have this
right.
very small field that you can see. And I think in games that's pretty cool. I think vision is one of those it's the main feature. It's one of the main features, again, like back to core features of SUPERVIVE. Vision's a core feature. You need vision. It gives you intel.
Yeah.
It shows you things, knowing where vision is on the map. So I think being able to limit that in some way is really cool.
I
And I
guess
like that.
if you threw it at enemies and it removes their vision, but it does not block your allies' vision at all, like you can straight up just see them stand. You see the enemies who are
Yeah,
blinded, like they have a blinded icon above their health bar.
yeah. Near
That
sight would be
that's
kind of cool.
essentially what you're after. I think the one problem is uh we we've made a design call a while back that we will not isolate vision. Like
Okay.
isolated vision is very tricky, I guess. So the problem with that implementation is that if I don't hit an entire team with the grenade, the person who is outside the grenade is benefiting everyone immensely. That's probably the only problem. Maybe it only blocks vision in and out for enemies. Maybe it cares about team. That's weird, but it would work, right?
I like your thought process. It's so cool just seeing like a designer like actually think this out live, and like it's
Yeah, I
cool.
mean, I've actually been trying to solve this for a few weeks, so you picked the right thing.
Oh,
It's
hey,
funny. It's
listen.
ironic.
I've been thinking about it for a while, like exactly how it could
Yeah,
go. But
yeah.
I won't let this stray away. Lemur, what do you got?
All
You cook
right.
something?
Since Fernie's not here, um, I will say she would probably say Death Knight. Bring Death Knight back.
Mm,
And then what I would say, uh, one of my favorite abilities in WoW is Transcendence. And if you know what that, do you know what that is, JMO?
no, no, no. Explain.
So essentially, you put down a clone, and um, if you press a different button, it'll bring you back to that clone, and it'll leave a clone in your place. And then you can swap back to that clone or swap back to the other
Does it have
clone.
a cooldown?
It does have a cooldown. It does have a cooldown. But there are ways that it's lower and stuff. So it's like, you can, it's kind of like Shiv Dagger in a way, but it swaps and it leaves a clone back to where you were. It's like if Shiv
Right.
Dagger left
Like a
another
delayed
dagger.
version.
Yeah, yeah.
If Shift
But
Dagger left another dagger. It's
yeah,
just in
then you could go
Is it
back to
just
the
in
dagger.
play forever?
Yes, pretty much.
How? What's the counterplay? How do you stop them? Do you stun them and then maybe that destroys the
No,
No, it's just
no.
forever up.
It's just, I mean, it has a range. It has like a,
Demo ability if I ever heard it.
yeah, yeah. It has a range. It has a range.
It has a range, okay.
It has a range. It has a
That's
range.
not fun. Why
I was
Yeah.
gonna say that's not a JMO ability right there. You got this all wrong.
So if you walk too far out of the range, then you can't transcend its back. But
It's interesting. I like it a lot. There's
yeah.
a character a long time ago that was their ultimate essentially.
Oh,
So
okay.
I mean, I don't know that they just dropped a thing and then rewound to that thing. They were a
Yeah.
very fun character, but it didn't like keep the thing in play after they rewound. They just had to wait their cooldown. But I like that space. That's interesting for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There was something else. Oh yeah. Do we have time for one more question, Weedle?
Yeah, go ahead.
I saw in the chat
It's a JMO power hour. I love
Yes.
more questions the better. The
So
longer this
Jamo,
goes, the better.
also, you took over Void for a little bit. This question was from Kenneth.
Okay.
Are you going to take a look at the kidnapping interactions with Grapple Hook and what's the Blink Dagger called now?
Veil Piercer, right?
It's
Or
not
no,
Veil Piercer.
Blinkstone.
Blinkstone. Blinkstone and Grapple Hook and like kidnapping people. It became really prevalent last playtest, and I think that it is cool. But I feel like there's lacking. What you were talking about earlier is like the counterplay is like
It's
where
not there
yeah,
necessarily.
there's not really like you could maybe air blast out of the grapple hook or something, but also sometimes the void is invisible, and
on the other side of a wall. That one's really hard. I actually don't think I know my own answer right off the top of my head, in that, like, I think we put things in the game that we know are very, very strong,
Mhm.
potentially busted. And some of it is to pay out. Like, you're going to play a bunch of matches and you want some of those matches to stand out
Right.
and be magical memories. And so there is a lot of power budget in our equipment, in our powers, in the souls that you get. And it creates dreams. And this maybe is just one dream. I am not sure if this example is too strong yet, but I think if players, I think if the consensus becomes that this just isn't allowed, we would probably come up with a yes, but, like, yes, this is allowed, but it does X that makes it not as good.
Right.
Sometimes those are really hard to come up with, but that's like where my head goes. But I think we're generally lean towards, like, let it go until, I think I've heard someone say let it go until it ruins a show match, and I like that. Like, I don't know if you guys remember the laser show match, but,
Oh
like,
my god, yeah.
laser got a lot of nerfs after that. And, like, I think that's fun. It's like, let the players let them find the limits of the box. And like I said, I like playing Jin. I think Jin Amplifier, like, I'm in charge of Jin. I did not make Amplifier. Jin Amplifier feels crazy to me. Like, that's
Mhm.
one of the first times where I legitimately felt like no one was balancing the game. Like, that, but it's so fun. It's, like, addicting. But yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure out. I don't
Yep.
know what my opinion is on that either. I've talked to a few designers about it, and right now it's like let it ride, but I'm not, time will tell. Players will tell me if it's actually legal. We're getting data too to see. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how much, but yeah, specific examples like that are pretty hard. I don't know. We could come up with a rule though if the design team comes to the conclusion that it's not fair. I think we would come up with something to fix it.
Cool.
Free, you've been a topic of that, Lemur, with, like, freeze jump pad ult. Like,
Oh yeah.
there's been a lot of design discussions about how to keep that one from happening. And there are interesting ideas.
Just wait till Oath gets nerfed. You'll be seeing a lot of Celeste just flying at you across the screen.
I'm glad I dodged oath questions this Kaiju Power Hour.
That's
I mean, I
fantastic.
like Oath. I'm happy where he's at.
Yeah,
I
I'm
mean, he's a
saying.
tanky boy now.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
really like him as a tank.
I mean, I like playing against him usually.
Yeah, that's good.
It is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. All right, JMO, any shout outs you want to give? Give you an opportunity for a shout out.
A
Everything.
shout out? I mean,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
just appreciate all you guys, like the players. I mean, I appreciate all the devs as well. Like, I feel really lucky to work with the team I work with, and I love hanging out with the community. So just all of you, you're all awesome. Like I said, the player feedback, you guys staying late and hanging out, it impacts my morale, it impacts the game. I think it's just been a positive experience for me in my life. So I appreciate you all, really.
I say that's right back at. I was right back at you. I love to see you guys. Like, it's so. It sounds so weird to say that you've had the opportunity to play with this dev team, and it sounds so weird to even say that I've had the opportunity to play with Joe. Like, I just never
Yeah.
thought a million years could say, like, oh, I have memories of playing with Joe Tung, CEO of the Third
Right,
Craft
right.
Games. Like, that's like, it's so cool to me that you're open transparency and, like, going forward, like, especially I'm just going to mention this as we're ending, but I'm going to mention the coolest thing to see from all the statistics that were shown. Like, we got all the statistics after Steam Next Fest 20 games average for players. Every player played 20 games average. That's like that's a crazy stat to think
Yeah.
about. And hundreds of thousands of players, 20 games on average.
Sounds pretty
20.
good.
I'm gonna say I like that
I
pretty. I
did
like
my
that.
part for sure.
yeah.
Well,
We made him stop after 20 games. Good job.
20 games, you're done. All right. No, but thank you so much for coming on here again, JMO. We
Yeah,
greatly
no,
appreciate
thank you
it.
guys.
We'll hopefully, maybe in the future have you back on again. Maybe you'll be with a little partner in crime. Who knows?
Yeah.
Regardless, if you guys also want to leave comments and feedback down below, questions we can even ask in the future. Some questions that we missed, we might ask in the future because they're still pretty important questions that we can wrap back around to. Obviously, if you guys are in the Discord, you can get in the SUPERVIVE Discord, and then there's a lot of feedback forms, question forms, and everything. And I've seen JMO in there a couple times. Like, this guy loves feedback, so it's like, you know, he'll go for it. You know, just keep telling him Brawl's too overpowered.
I listened to some of it, you know.
Some of it. We're going to try to like get a schedule on the KPH. I say this every time, or should I say the APH? You know, Abyssal Power Hour. Maybe we just go for a rename. Who knows? No, I'm just kidding. But no, that's it from me. Peace out, everybody.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you guys. Bye. Thanks for
Thank
coming on,
you
JMO.
guys. Yeah.
Hey, you're